Joining me in studio, Tal Reshef, East Asia expert. Mr. Reshef, good morning to you. First of all, who do you think is going to win this?
Well, Mr. Moon seems to be a very clear candidate to win it. For already a whole month, he's leading all the polls, all of them with a very big difference, after 2 times more votes than the second place, so it's quite clear.
And why do you think that is the case? Why is he the leading candidate?
I think the impeachment and Mrs. Park, the ex-president, left a very bitter taste of instability, of immaturity, politic ruling, and they're looking for somebody who is conservative, well-known, with a good experience, who gives the impression that there's a mature person present in the area, and they're not ready for experiments from right, from left, of trying to take anything adventurous.
Anything adventurous, and speaking of which, the South Koreans, who are they more worried about? North Korea or the United States?
Well, clearly from the North Koreans. Yeah, okay. It was a kind of an interesting question. But, okay, continuing with the line, they have a problem with Mr. Trump. They have a problem with his loud voice, with his outspoken way of putting things and getting them to be unstable. And they're not looking for the winds of war that are blowing from Washington to the area. But still, the big problem is still Mr. Kim.
It's Mr. Kim. And when it comes to the missile defense system, having been placed there earlier, before it was supposed to, is that a factor in how people will go and vote? What did the South Koreans want? Of course, nobody wants war, but did they want to see more U.S. intervention on their grounds? Because we saw discontent with that.
Yeah. Well, the big debate over there is how are we going to solve it? Are we going to just sit down like sitting ducks and wait to see what's happening? Or are we going to take any peace initiative in order to resolve it this way or another with Mr. Kim? Or are we going to threaten him? This is the big debate about it. And Mr. Moon has promised to do all his utmost in order to promote a peaceful resolution, a peaceful reunification of Korea, which many people doubt if it's possible, but he's going to work in this direction, he said.
To work in that direction. Why would you say that many people doubted that is possible?
Because the key factor is not the will of the president of South Korea. The key issue is the will of Mr. Kim from North Korea. And as long as he doesn't want it, no initiative will change the point.
No initiative will change the point. Now, the voting has been, underway for the last several hours. I think we have also images of the candidates, of Moon himself. There we go, voting earlier today in those what are very, very detrimental, so to speak, or actually very defining elections in a region that has been really marred by the winds of war, many would say, rhetoric. And, of course, the eyes are on South Korea. There we have it. This is a polling station live right now, about to close. The polls are about to close in South Korea, important to note, and results would be in most likely within the next 2 hours of those elections. As we said, Mr. Yo leading those polls, and the United States and Pyongyang being very much in the eye of the storm when it comes to what the South Korean voter wants. And when it comes to what the South Korean voter wants, clearly things that I don't think anybody in the world has managed to solve. But internally, and American involvement, I'm going to take you back to that one. When it comes to American involvement on the ground, more South Koreans would like to see more U.S. involvement or defense in their region?
But principally, basically, no. Clear no, but, and there's a huge but, which means depends what is going to happen on the north side of the border. And if things are going to get too risky, involvement of systems such as like the THAAD, the anti-missile
defense,
they are not happy to have the American troops on the soil, but it's better than having missiles falling on Seoul. So it's kind of a vicious decision.
A vicious decision, a vicious cycle. Many say that the elections today in South Korea will be very much determined by what the American president, by Donald Trump, and what he has said over the course of the last month, specifically about the candidates. You think that has that much sway in South Korea?
I don't think so. Of course it is important. Of course it has the effect. But following the newspapers from Korea in the last month, I saw that the main things that interested the voter, the common voter, first of all, is the anti-corruption war, following the example of the ex-president. And the second point is the future of Korean economic. Because Korea is in a point of instability, economic instability, decline of export, decline of economic power. Those things are crucial. And I had the impression that it affected the choice of the candidate more than the winds that blow from Washington.
More than the winds that blow from Washington, I think, maybe people think that those winds have more effect than they do. And so asking about that. Also the idea that the candidates in today's election aren't, it's almost the lesser of evils when it comes to the South Koreans.
Yes.
Why is that?
Because they're playing the situation, facing very big problems, and we have mentioned only few of them, not all of them, and they have some candidates, none of them has got, a magic in his hand to resolve it all, so they have to choose the most promising, the less evil, as you said. Well, I think here in Israel we know it too.
I think all around the world. Thank you so much. Many ways. With me in studio also Tal Reshev. I mean, I find it quite remarkable the candidates are sitting and looking at all those results coming in live, being ever so happy. Yeah. It looks like the Oscars.
Yeah, well, this is Korea, this is Asia. People are not waving flags and balloons and, and confetti paper. It's very conservative, very restrained. This is the style, but there are very deep emotions behind this appearance.
And what are those emotions?
Fear. First of all, it's fear, economic fear, fear from the nuclear power of the North, fear from instability, geopolitical and economic.
And Siwon with us also still from South Korea, as we said, those results coming in just now. You're looking still at live pictures from South Korea as a very definitive day of elections has ended there just now. Results in real time, 41.4% for the leading candidate, Moon. Again, it was no surprise, wasn't a shock to people around the world or to South Koreans. With me still on from South Korea, Siwon Koo, publisher at Korea X-Present. Siwon, when it comes to what Moon can do, okay, leading ahead, and I know you're probably smiling right now, but what he can do when it comes to South Korea position between a rock and a hard place, which would be North Korea and Washington. What do the South Koreans expect from him?
Well, I mean, his options are certainly limited. South Korea is not a superpower. It has always had to balance the demands of other countries like the U.S. and China, of course. The sense is that Moon Jae-in is going to take a radical departure from the policies we have seen for the last 9 years under the conservative administrations. He's going to assume a more conciliatory position toward North Korea. He's not saying that that means he's going to just start offering aid, but he wants to have dialogue as an option on the table. He does want to consider the possibility of reopening those economic ties with North Korea that the conservative presidents closed in the past. But he also wants to approach North Korea through a multi-party dialogue system. He wants to involve the powers that all have interest in the situation on the Korean Peninsula. And this perhaps may not be what America wants to see at the moment, given the kind of maneuvers that were designed to heighten tensions here in the region.
So can he do all those things? As we said, we're in South Korea, and Moon just, projections in 41.4% for the leading candidate that everybody expected. But what you're describing right now, can he do all those things? Are they feasible without the support of the United States?
Well, certainly these policies have been tried in the past. It's not new here. We have seen two successive liberal presidents, Kim Dae-jung and Roh Moo-hyun, try very similar policies. And Moon Jae-in was chief of staff to the last liberal president who was term ended in 2008. So we are going to see perhaps a repeat of those policies, but at the same time, there will certainly be adjustments to the geopolitical situation here today. America certainly is a big factor, and people are going to wonder how Moon Jae-in is going to fare in dealing with Washington under the control of Donald Trump.
And as we said, Moon, results coming in from those South Korean elections live that you're looking at right now. Polling stations closed, projections out. Moon supposedly with a 41.4% lead. The winner of those South Korean elections. With us still Siwon Koo in South Korea and Tal Reshev, Asian expert in the studio. And when it comes, Tal, let me ask you this. When it comes to South Korea, as Siwon Koo just said, they're not a superpower. They don't have that much clout. They're just positioned in a very bad place, sadly, that, everybody has their plate in right now. Okay, fine. Economically, how will that affect them and what can they do?
I think economically this is not the main factor. Of course, it's going to have an effect on them, but this is not the great thing. I mean, the great problem that Korea faces and is going to face in the next years is that they are a rich country with high technology and the high-level brands of appliances, and they are fighting, shoulder to shoulder against the biggest giants, against Germany and United States and Japan and the like. And there is a decline in the sales, not only of Korea but the other countries also, because of the competition of Southeast Asia and China and India. And they have to find a solution to it because they are sacking people because the sales are dropping. It means unemployment.
Unemployment, and then we know what happens then. But as we said, the results are in South Korea, and as it was predicted, as was projected, Jae-in with 41.4% lead in the South Korean elections where the polls just closed. Seo Eun-kyu joining us from South Korea. I want to thank you very much. Same to you, Mr. Tal Reshef, with us to have broken this down with us.